Everyone is saying it. Mythic Plus is broken. All right, here we go.
What garbage affixes do I have to deal with this week? That is what you will see if you go to Mythic Plus, right? That's the entire vibe of affixes. I mean, I've got a quick quiz for you, right? I want you to listen to these words and raise your hand, drop a comment if they get you licking your lips in delight. Quaking, explosive.
Nope, that's none of them. He's going to list out all of them, and he's going to say you don't like any of them, and that's all of them. Probably, that's what I think he's going to do. There is no logical reason that every affix can't be positive. There is literally no reason. If they made every affix a positive affix, like in Torghast, it would change nothing with Mythic Plus. It would just make the game better.
Storming, sanguine, bolstering, spiteful. Yeah, I don't think anyone's licking their lips at that.
No.
Each of them are impeccably designed to piss you off in a unique and specific way. Every affix is manageable for certain roles and nightmarish for others, so players spend a whole week clawing at each other's throats over pointless wipes whenever quaking comes at the worst possible time and anything except
Well, I think also, like, you just look at what the hell is going on here. Like, this is, I think that most difficulty in World of Warcraft is derived from not being able to see what's happening on the screen. It is so stupid. Why are there like 4 different overlaps that are happening, and the spell effects from one overlap is replacing the first one? It's like, what the fuck is this? Why?
So players spend a whole week clawing at each other's throats over pointless wipes whenever quaking comes at the worst possible time and anything except
we had that
pixel perfect positioning is a bricked key and half an hour wasted. Our goal today is to get to the bottom of things. Why do affixes exist? Are they slowly killing Mythic Plus? Can Blizzard fix them? How? Is there a shining, magnificent future in which we all love running dungeons and people are not anxious wrecks? Let's find out together after a word from our sponsor.
I think that overall, as I said, there is no reason that Mythic Plus affixes cannot be positive. And also, some affixes are just way worse than others. Like, I would say Sanguine is, like, not even, like, I think Grievous is worse than Sanguine in, like, every single way. Like, if I go and I think about every situation in the game that could occur, Grievous is worse and more punishing than Sanguine in, like, 99 out of 100 of those.
Nord, right, so, you know phishing attacks, that's where scammers try to dupe you into compromising your own security with, like, a fake email, a fake link. Well, NordVPN Threat Protection can help recognize those malicious threats and warn you before things go awry. Plus, so much more. And my creator link, nordvpn.com/Bellular Gaming, that is where you will get a bonus month free, and to celebrate their 11th birthday, there'll actually be an additional gift of extra subscription time. Just click my link down below. Now, Nord, of course, being a VPN, lets you browse the web as if you are anywhere, and that lets you do a lot of useful things. I regularly use Nord to access region-restricted content on the hellscape that is the internet with streaming services and such. But as I've talked about in the past, they can also help you get out of, like...
I wonder why they even do region restrictions whenever everybody can just use a VPN for free. Like, what's the point?
Price gouging, problems like that, and also protect you against threats.
Contracts?
Like phishing,
yeah, I guess so.
Man in the middle of attacks. That's when
they probably don't even
basically
care.
Makes a fake network to pwn you with, plus a whole bunch more.
Pwn? I haven't heard that for a long
like their
time.
Dark web monitor. You just add your email to it, and they will then alert you if your credentials have appeared in a data breach. And that will allow you to change your credentials.
Yeah, there's websites that do this
They make
too.
security convenient and easy with their app and their browser extension
remember that?
on all major
Perfectly owned.
platforms. My creator link, nordvpn.com/Bellular Gaming, is where you will find 1 month free. Plus, to celebrate their 11th birthday, there is an additional gift of extra subscription time. Just click my link down below.
But why?
We're going to have to engage with
It's kind of an unfortunate timing with the with like the sponsor thing, you know?
Actual reason they exist. And it's not just to kill you, it's also to overload you and frustrate you. But seriously, it is supposed to add.
Yeah, and I think that's also like getting overloaded. I feel stressed out whenever I do Mythic Plus a lot. Because like each of these different NPCs has multiple mechanics I have to deal with. I have to execute a rotation that's probably 10 separate buttons plus reactive abilities based off of what happens. And then the other NPCs do abilities, and those things can overlap. And then on top of that, you also have the affixes. It's crazy. It's just so stressful. Like, what is this?
A spice to the dungeon, changing up your gameplay each week. Quaking discourages stacking, so you can't rely on the same usual strategies. Sanguine gives tanks a mob placement headache. Explosive is a mini-game that can be optimized with instant single-target cast, especially from a healer. Spiteful gives everyone a fun opportunity to use their CC to keep those nasty ghosts away. Bursting and Grievous are both there to change the damage profile for the healer to answer with their tools, or just make Disc Priests jump off a cliff, while Storming and Volcanic are there to give melee and range some bonus dodging to do. Now,
just what we need, more mechanics.
Anyone actually feel that way, though? You see, most of these affixes are better described as some bullshit. Yeah. It's a bit like being slapped every morning, and each week your personal slapper changes which cheek they aim for and puts on a different type of glove.
Well, I always viewed it as this. I viewed it as like Mythic Plus, the affixes. It's like you get led down blindfolded into a basement, and they take the blindfold off, and it has red velvet walls, and there's a bunch of different sex toys on the wall, and you get to pick 2 of them that they're going to use on you. Like different sizes of like whips, chains, like chastity belts, like different stuff like that. That's basically what happens every single week for Mythic Plus. A banana, yeah. Except you don't get to pick, exactly. Yeah, you're like, how about these 2? They slap them out of your hand, and they're like, nope, you're going to have to go with the whip again.
Crash, but you're still getting slapped. Maybe you don't like that. Without it, though, Blizzard would think that your morning, or in this case your dungeons, would just be too easy, too simple, too boring.
Yeah.
Lots of high-end players and dedicated Mythic Plusers also feel that way.
What are they saying here? Explosive Mythic Plus affix, so healers have something to do because they weren't totally already busy healing, CCing, interrupting, damaging, and mechanics. Yeah, it's just so stupid. Dragonfight is great overall, but no expansion World of Warcraft has been less enjoyable whenever it comes to Mythic Plus. Try to stand still and cast for 1 second challenge. Hot take, but Mythic Plus affixes shouldn't make you not want to play the game. Healing is actually exhausting this week. It's Wednesday and I'm already beat. Holy shit. Yeah, I mean, I don't see why they can't all be positive.
But to be honest with you, I've been looking at a lot of what the pro players are saying, some of the more higher-end people, and it seems like discontent with affixes is only growing right now. And that means we have an opportunity. The important part, though, is what we do all, I think, agree on, and that is that affixes need some serious loving.
Just get good.
It's easy to see players complain about affixes and come to a fair conclusion. Players don't want resistance. They want to hold...
I think it's like anybody who says that is like, how can you say that whenever the people that are better than you will ever be are saying the same thing? Do you think they're bad? I mean, they're obviously not bad, so then why are they saying it? It's just a very dismissive thing to say, and it doesn't make any sense.
Smash a few buttons and get some gear. That's sort of fair. Maybe that's why LFR exists. Maybe that's why world bosses exist, some of that easy world content. Maybe that's why back in the days of Warlords of Draenor, there was a massive community outrage over the silver proving ground requirement for heroics, which honestly baffled me then and baffles me still.
I still think that was totally fine because you're enlisting other people's help without their without them being able to decide whether they want you in there. I think that if you want to be able to use a random group finder, you should be able to pass a basic test that tells people that you have your monitor on. Absolutely. But Mythic Plus dungeons are not that. It's not a randomized group. You pick these people yourself.
But yeah, some players aren't good, and they do not want to get good. That's their choice. And that's why the debate is not about making the game any easier. Hard is not a problem. It's the reason why it is hard, and that is frustration. Most affixes are actually easy to handle by themselves. Just move a bit. Just stop casting. Just mouse over the explosive ball. The question we're trying to ask, though, is just...
I feel like this is kind of like what the issue is with the game. Is like the indicator right here is purple, and it's on a blue and purple background, and the things you have to avoid are also purple. And then he does a beam that's purple as well. And then there's also purple balls. Why is this happening? It's so bad.
Mouse over the explosive ball. The question we're trying to ask, though, is, does having to do any of that actually add to the game?
No.
I mean, it makes it harder, sure, and that's obviously the goal, but is it more fun?
I don't think it is.
I don't think so.
No.
And I've got some reasons why.
Okay.
Number one, you're already trying to complete a hard dungeon with a tight timer. Do you really need a layer of fun on top of that?
I don't think so.
There's no worse feeling than doing a fight perfectly, putting out all the damage and healing you can, only for an affix to cause a wipe and throw the whole thing off. I mean, sure, technically that's a skill issue, but to the player it feels external.
It's actually not always a skill issue. And I'll give you an example. Let me go ahead and show you guys. When did we do that run for fucking, it was like Azure Vault or something like that? I'm trying to remember what day that was. Let me see. When did that happen? Was it maybe this one? I don't fucking remember. God damn. Like, I wish I could find it. Well, anyway, I did Azure Vault, and on the third boss, the one where you have to, like, group up into, like, the little thing to, like, absorb the damage whenever his energy bar goes full, what ended up happening is he just cast Quaking at the same time and killed everybody. Like, he just killed us all. Like, I mean, there's nothing we can really do about it. Yeah, here we go. We found it. Yeah, there we go. Take a look at this, guys.
Range 5.
Well, this isn't good. Guaranteed wipe? No, we actually didn't wipe.
Bro, like, what a bad game.
There you go. It just sucks. It's not a skill issue, it's just bad design.
The dungeon itself didn't cause the problem. No, the layer of nonsense on top of the dungeon did. That might seem petty, but that's how players actually feel, and that's why it's just something that's stupidly important. Here's the key. People will call a good game hard. They will call a bad game bullshit. What matters is how the hard is achieved. Number two, they make Mythic Plus way more complicated to learn, and that is an existential problem. A weekly rotation of things that will just come out of nowhere and wipe you. That might seem manageable if you're used to it and doing it every week, but try to imagine being new to World of Warcraft.
Okay.
There is no way to practice, and every time you fail, you might be the reason why a group disbands and everyone's time is wasted.
Yep.
It's no wonder that World of Warcraft is plagued with people.
Well, I think also, like, a big element of it is the fact that keys can deplete. There is no gameplay reason that keys should deplete. Like, depleting keys does not make the game better in any way. All it does is make things more frustrating for no reason.
People too anxious to actually play the content they're interested in.
Yeah, just add stress for no reason.
Between community issues, a lack of in-game tutorialization, and a timer adding instant stakes, getting into Mythic...
So somebody says you should win every time? You're banned. I'll answer your question. Just so you guys know, you can ask a stupid question like that, but it will cost you your account. You can, and I will answer it. But it will cost you your account because it's so stupid. Winning is completing it with the timer. And you still get a reward if you complete it with depleting it. So how are you not getting a reward if you still get it anyway? You're still getting the loot at the end of the dungeon. It still counts towards your box in your weekly vault. So aren't you winning already? Well, if you are, then that entire conversation's out the window already because it's already happened. So it's more about, is this creating a fun experience? Is it fun and is it enjoyable for Mythic Plus keys to deplete? No. No, it's not. I've never had it to where that system has improved my experience. Yeah, it's just like, I can't imagine that, like, thinking that keys depleting is a good system. You'd have to be an idiot to think that.
Plus, for the first time, is just a series of mountains to climb.
Yeah.
WoW, now more than ever, needs to destroy those barriers to entry. The sales figures of Dragonflight only prove that. Point 3. The affixes are just big blankets laid over the whole dungeon, which results in the, well, I'd say the game design equivalent of a cheap paint job done by your landlord. I'm sure we all know what that feels like. You know, something like quaking is perfectly fine here, but it's a lot less fine here. Blizzard are totally aware of this because they've made quaking cancel if it happens.
Even that one's
during Inhale in Shadowmoon Burial Grounds, which is a forced stack mechanic.
right.
But it still happens when stacking isn't required, but is.
We're gonna watch it again.
This is easy.
Range 5.
Bro, like, what a bad game.
Yeah. Good game.
Optimal, like when turning corners to line of sight mechanics in Temple or Court. To avoid this, Blizzard would have to spend weeks hotfixing in exceptions, like with Inhale, or just stop putting those mechanics in dungeons in the first place.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about you, but I'd rather have a more interesting dungeon than one that is intentionally neutered so that affixes can exist, of all things. Shoutouts to the unmovable, interruptible chaincasting mobs that heal to full in Sanguine, because that's just great.
Yeah, well, it was a lot better in Legion whenever you didn't have as many of those. And I think this was very evident in BFA whenever you had, like, dungeons like Waycrest Manor with Sanguine, where it was just, like, much harder because of, like, it was not designed for Waycrest Manor. It was designed for, like, Maw of Souls or Halls of Valor. So that's what the issue is.
Point 4, as Tattles pointed out in his recent
like a
video about
one-size-fits-all.
affixes, the kicker is they're targeted at specific roles, and mostly healers. Explosive, Bursting, and Grievous are specifically healer mechanics, while Sanguine and the now gone Necrotic actively ruin tanks' entire weeks, and Storming and Quaking are just exercises in frustration for the DPS. The emotional experience is, damn, this week's gonna suck for me. And the week after that may be, oh hey, this week doesn't suck as much.
Yeah.
It would probably be better if we were all excited to play instead of just not pissed off at best. And point 5, it definitely impacts balance. They make the game hard, but they make it differently harder in different dungeons, and then also in different combinations every week. And that is an absolute nightmare for Blizzard to get numbers right. And in a world where it takes Blizzard half a season of constant...
Yeah, they're just obviously nerfing the shit out of it. I do think that Mythic Plus would probably be better if they got rid of a lot of these affixes and they just completely... Like, they took every affix that they currently have in Mythic Plus and they delete it. Just get rid of every single one except for the seasonal affix. And that's it.
Hotfixes to rebalance dungeons, they should probably start simple and work up. To be clear, balance isn't the ultimate goal, fun is more important, but balance issues in WoW usually cause frustration instead of unintended joy.
And I think that's like a big factor that WoW players really fixate on is like balance and like things being fair. Well, who cares if it's fair if it's not fun? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, for example, like Elden Ring isn't fair. I mean, if you use one weapon, you can kill a boss instantaneously, basically. And if you use another one, it takes forever. It's really hard to do. Like, making a game fun is more important than making it fair.
Though it's worth remembering, not all affixes are created equal.
Yeah.
The seasonal affix is a different story altogether and clearly better. Thundering is a kiss curse, right? It means that you get a bonus for doing it correctly and a punishment for doing it wrong.
I don't want more mechanics in the dungeons. There's already a bunch of mechanics in the dungeons. There's already enough swirlies, man. Like, why do we need... Look at
Curse,
this.
right? It means that you get a
Look at this, like a bunch of fucking... Why? Why do we have to do this?
bonus for doing it correctly and a punishment for doing it wrong. Wait till the last second and you'll get a lot of extra damage during the buff, but potentially risk punishment of that potentially fatal stun if you mistime it. You can also clear it instantly, very easily, to take no risks, but you do lose the reward. It's simple yet effective, and I would also say one that in a world where you can also get quaking and storming and all those other things feels particularly bad. But Thundering on its own would probably feel fine if it wasn't for all those other affixes.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
We've then got Awakened, the last affix of BFA. That owned. It put extra stuff in dungeons that allowed players to stealth through sections, kill mini-bosses in different orders, or fight them all at once at the end for a risky but rewarding play.
The only problem that I had with that, and that I've had with Mythic Plus in general, with like different things like that, is like routing. Because everybody wants you to do the Mythic Plus dungeon in a very specific way, and I don't think that's really great for the game. Because it makes it even harder for like a new tank or a new player to understand what to do.
Seasonal affixes
the routing is so annoying.
The dungeon itself in a way that is more designed and does not interfere with existing mechanics, that doesn't change week to week, that sometimes provides new enemies and has a strong risk-reward component. In other words, they're really good. These can stay. Fortified and Tyrannical, those are exceptions, but I think they're a conversation for another day. For now, they get to live because we have bigger fish to fry.
I think that Fortified... I think Fortified sucks. I don't want to spend more time clearing trash. Yeah, I think Fortified and... Tyrannical... I think Tyrannical bosses are the way it should play. The boss should be the challenge, and the trash should be like optimization. Like, how many packs can you pull at the same time? And I just think that's more fun. I think it's really cool to just get a bunch of mobs and AoE all of them down. Because it's just cool. That's about it.
So what is the solution? Okay, it's simple. As many have suggested, most recently I think I saw Nagura tweet about it, make affixes positive only.
Yeah.
Right?
Why not?
Remove the punishment for failure, because not being rewarded is punishment enough when you are dealing with a dungeon system that is balanced around infinitely scaling difficulty and a time trial.
Exactly.
I mean, not being needlessly punitive is how the rest of Dragonflight has been designed, so why not affixes? Why are we stuck with a relic of a design era like BFA and Shadowlands that did not work? Examples of this could be Explosive doing nothing if it goes off, but maybe killing it causes a burst of mana regeneration or healing, so it becomes a resource to grab, and the challenge is, can you grab the resource? Imagine if Sanguine dropped a ring around the mob instead of a pull under it, and repositioning into the ring gave a damage buff to players, or extra damage taken to the mob. If Quaking, instead of interrupting you when you failed, would perhaps be that if you stopped casting, then when it goes off, your next 3 cast time spells are instant. Wouldn't that be?
I think that wouldn't even be super cool. I think it'd be way more cool if Quaking was the exact same, but it did damage to the boss instead of damage to you. And every single person that hits the boss with the Quaking circle makes it get a stack where it takes more damage from Quaking. Like, I think that'd be even more badass. You make bolstering to where whenever one of the mobs dies, it does 10% of its health to every other mob around it, you know, like split. So, like, you know, if there's 2 mobs, it takes off 5% of their health. Yeah, that'd be badass. That's just a nerf to the boss? No, it's not. How could you possibly nerf a boss that infinitely scales? It's impossible. You can't. You just have to do it on a higher key. You're going to have the same problems. You're just going to have them on a higher key.
Fun. That way, you would still have extra tasks and mechanics like you do right now. You would still have that variation and repeatability, but it wouldn't be...
And somebody says, wouldn't making Mythic Plus actually fun kill rating, though? If making... What? Okay, so we should make Mythic Plus bad? Because rating is also bad, so if we make one of them good... It's like right now, everybody has to play 2 bad systems, which is better than them playing 1 good system. This is the WoW brain. Yeah, that's the way it goes, guys.
So darn frustrating.
They're so
Instead of
brainwashed,
thinking,
I know.
oh, how am I going to be screwed over this week? You'd be thinking, what are the cool optimizations I could do this week to go harder?
Yeah.
That is fundamentally more exciting for a player. This would also add something new. The ability to ignore these affixes if you are overwhelmed. And that helps to solve the learning issue for new players. You can just warm up to them over time. And this approach should be Blizzard's speciality. After all, World of Warcraft...
It's also like, I mean, how do we have mechanics like this? Where the dragon's wing actively obscures the damage effect on the ground? Why does this happen? It doesn't have to happen. But why? I don't understand. Just get rid of it.
And this approach should be Blizzard's speciality. After
Yeah,
all,
with Razgoth, yes.
World of Warcraft, from its very beginning, was the friendly MMO.
Yes.
It's the one that had rested experience.
Oh, yeah.
And instead of in other games where if you died, you lost XP, that didn't happen in World of Warcraft. Originally, they're going to make it so that you actually would get XP slower if you ground out too hard. And then they realized, hang on, we're a more open fun MMO. That's not what we do.
Well, that's why WoW was very successful back in the day, is because of that. And why can't people who whine about WoW for double-digit years finally quit the game so people who enjoy Mythic Plus and raids can play in peace? Because if everybody that did that quit, the game servers would shut down tomorrow. That's why. Yeah, that did happen.
A lot of these things, they're similar, but by making the positive rewarding version, it feels so much more different. And it's the sort of thing that in hindsight is so goddamn obvious.
Yep.
I think it would be the same thing here. It would take some work, but it would be a hell of a lot more fun. All the same affix gameplay is there, just instead of being worried about an annoying random punishment, you are thinking, hell yeah, how can I go hard? There is another solution, and this is a risky one, but there could be a payoff, and that is kill it. Kill it all. Cut it down to just fortified, tyrannical, plus 1 seasonal affix, and balance the dungeons around that.
I would rather have no affixes than have the affixes we have now. Like, straight up. I would rather have that. Yeah, I mean, I would like that more. I think there's just too many mechanics in the game. It's just crazy. I don't understand why more people aren't saying this. It's nuts. Like, mechanic overlaps and stuff like that would be repetitive. It already is. Affixes don't make it less repetitive. It just makes it more frustrating.
Dragonflight Dungeons show that designers are itching to make more challenging and interesting content. I mean, just look at the mechanical density of the new dungeons compared to the older ones. The thing is, though, affixes ruin
Too much.
The designers are building cathedrals, and affixes are just painting graffiti all over them. Looking at some of the most replayable and beloved games proves one principle is always worth striving for, and that is easy to learn, hard to master. If next expansion we didn't have these affixes, they would have room to create even better fights, ones that stand the test of time and are always fun. An expression I once heard on design is that fear knows no love, meaning if you're afraid of your players getting bored and leaving, you will design defensively and you will make things like weekly affixes, or perhaps tie Torghast into legendaries because you are afraid players won't do Torghast. You know, instead of just making banging content and trusting that your players logged into World of Warcraft, the video game that they subscribe to actually have fun. To use psychological terms to prove we're not just making this shit up, check this out. It's the model of flow. That feeling that you get when you're really lost in a game or a task. A well-crafted game keeps players on the right-hand side, and an unbalanced one has them on the left, letting players master their classes and the dungeon by removing the needless shit on top, but having really amazing, solid core design that will help them turn their own apathy into relaxation, or their own anxiety into flow. Blizzard can pick either of these routes, or even come up with a third. Internally, they're almost certainly already coming up with solutions and investigating what needs done. So hopefully the ideas presented today will help them out. And my question...
Oh, yeah. I think all they have to do is just turn the affixes around. I mean, it's not even hard to do. Like, we could sit here and come up with 20 affixes that would be more fun to do than what we've had for 5 years. It's nuts. Yeah, all my friends and I quit due to the sheer amount of mechanics going into Mythic Plus. That's all we were looking forward to. It's just unfun. Yeah, I mean, and again, I think that's really what matters more. Like, who cares? I don't really care about how hard a game is. Like, it's just, I don't give a shit about that. If it's not fun to play, then why would I want to do it? That's it. Despite affects since Mythic Plus came out, despite being my favorite part of the game, happy people are finally seeing the way I do. Yeah, it doesn't make sense that you have negative affixes because the system scales infinitely. And it's not like if you added in positive affixes, everybody would just like be able to clear plus 30s either. People fuck up the base mechanics all the time. Even in the high Mythic Plus players don't like the affixes. Yeah. It's nuts, man. Blizzard make a community creator team where they ask people like you about your pro rating guilds and just top creators. I actually think that, yeah, it's important to get feedback from content creators and from top players, but I feel like the problem that Blizzard has is that's all they get. They get too much feedback from high-end players that play the game professionally, and they don't get enough feedback from people that play the game casually every once in a while. And, like, what stops those people from going in and playing more hardcore content? Like, for example, whenever I was doing Arena today, why is there no indicator on a character that they have a diminishing return for a certain type of stun? Like, why do you have to track this in your mind or in some sort of add-on? Why is this in the game? Why is there not a visual indicator that a character has been CC'd? Why are there 11 different debuffs on a target whenever they don't even have any cooldowns up in Arena? What is this? There's just a massive amount of like visual diarrhea that just happens on the screen, and it makes it so hard to understand what's happening. And the people that are okay with it are mainly people that play it all day. And it's like, yeah, of course, it's very easy to play a game and, you know, that's all you play. And yes, you understand it because that's what you do. That's effectively your job. You're putting in as much hours into that as you do in job. Of course you're going to get it. But for a casual player, it's overwhelming and stressful and not fun.
To you as what do you
again,
think?
like, yeah, why are there 100 nameplates for demo locks? What is the gameplay advantage? Does anybody think that it is a better game design decision to have 10 imps in an arena? Bro, I can go back and look at screenshots from Cataclysm, Mists of Pandaria, and I've got less nameplates in an RBG than I have in a 3v3 arena now. What is this? Why is this? This is insane.
They can make easy dungeons a bit more fun, but hard dungeons a nightmare. So I could totally see why people might enjoy them at times. Are you one of those people? Or do you agree that perhaps the game would be better with some of these changes? Let me know in those comments. Thank you for watching. Check out what I shouted out today, and I'll see you next time.
There you go. Someone says Mythic Plus is not for casuals. Go play Genshin if you want a casual game. Well, I mean, okay, so how do you reconcile that with the fact that you have like people that are guaranteed better than you are. Like these guys, they're so good at the game, they play it for a job. Okay? They're 100% better than you, but they think the same thing. Well, how does that happen? Well, it's because that's not the problem, and you're wrong. So that it's that simple. Yeah, Gatekeeper. Yeah, Mythic Plus is literally the casual game mode. Yeah, agree with that. I think LFR is casual mode. I've never enjoyed repeatedly running dungeons a few times on each difficulty after running a few times. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that probably feel that way with Mythic Plus. Yeah, definitely. WoW was made for casuals. Yeah, exactly. What the WoW brain rot? What the fuck gatekeeping? No wonder new players don't want to play. Yeah, WoW is like Dragonflight is a massive improvement over Shadowlands and BFA. Like it is just massive, and I would even say it's a massive improvement over Legion, all things considered. Like systems kept in consideration, it's way better than Legion. Even though for its time, I think you could say Legion was better for like how much it changed the game. It's hard to really compare the two, but overall, I mean, like Dragonflight's very good, but they have to. Like, nobody's going to go and watch, like, some arena stream and see 17 different things happening at the same time and think, yeah, this is what I want to get into. They won't even be able to, they won't know what's happening on the screen. And I can compare it, like, I have felt more sense of satisfaction of getting better at Valorant in the last few days than I have at getting better at WoW PvP in, like, a year. Like, it just doesn't feel good to be good at the game. Because it's just a bunch of complicated, stupid shit. Yeah, I don't know what to say. You play a comp, yeah, you don't get lucky, and you don't get better in WoW, you just play a comp and get lucky. I mean, sometimes for some people that is how it is. Yeah, it's so stressful. I know, it's not as satisfying. Yeah, it's why you think there's so many abilities. It's just an old game. I think that's a big reason why. Yeah, if all the Mythic stuff, it's too stressful. I know. Complicated equals ego fuel. Yeah, I think there's a lot of ego gamers that are hyper fixated on making WoW as hard as possible and trying to make it as much of a gatekeepy game as possible because they want to, they want to like basically like make their achievements like as prestigious as possible. They want to feel as special as they possibly can, and that's what matters. Yeah, they're killing their own game. Exactly. Just a no-life WoW. I still don't know what's going on the screen. Yeah, exactly. It's just crazy, man. I'll read a few more. Designers are building cathedrals and the affixes are painting graffiti all over them. Such a perfect metaphor. Yeah, I think that was a really smart thing for him to say, too. This was a really good Bellier video. I'm glad that I watched this. I hope more people start talking about this. Really like the video did take a topic heavily debated in the community, looking at what some of the higher-end players are saying, and then take a look at it from the lens of game design fundamentals. Yeah, and I also really think that we need to stop basing what's good or bad in a game based off of only what hardcore players think about it. Like, I'm so sick of that. Like, I don't want to hear about what somebody's opinion of the game is, how they think the game should change. You play this shit for a living. Like, it doesn't mean that their opinion doesn't matter, but it should be contextualized around that. You know, most WoW players are casual. Yeah, exactly. Top having Mythic Plus, we should have a hard version of dungeons, thinking Cataclysm Heroic or like a plus 20 difficulty without a timer. Yeah, I would like to see something like that too, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think that WoW is very fixated around having timers for things. And again, if you made it to where Mythic Plus keys didn't deplete, they didn't go down a level, they just stayed the same level, the game would only improve. There is no interaction that could occur that would make that experience worse for anybody. It would just instantly make the game better. If Blizzard said, you know what? We're going to get rid of key depletions tomorrow. If you deplete your key, it resets to another dungeon of the same level, and you get to do it again. And it just doesn't go up to the higher level. There's no reason. It would make pugging a lot better. Yeah, it would just instantly improve the game. And like you would still have the timer, and like the timer would decide whether it goes up to 21, let's say. But if it doesn't go to 21, it stays at 20. This would be an objective improvement to the game, and it would have no downsides. More people would quit, though. What? What? Objectively bad for casuals, though they're still their head against key levels they're not good enough for? So then, why do we have Mythic rating? So, like, I mean, should we make it to where, like, you can't raid, like, Mythic unless you kill the last boss in Heroic of the last tier, right? You have to kill Heroic Razageth to do Mythic Aranog, because, like, we used to have that in the game, and it was worse. Like, that's actually the way the game used to play, like, back in WoD, and it was just worse. Yeah, it's just WoW brain. People that have only played World of Warcraft for the last 15 years, and that's all they play, and they have no other way to contextualize anything else in the video game. It's nuts, man. It's sad. I do really hope they're able to, Blizzard's able to keep improving the game. They've listened so much. They've gotten so much better at it in Dragonflight. I am so much happier. It is, like, overall a much better experience, and I just hope they keep doing that. That's all it comes down to. Yeah, I just hope they keep doing it.